What's up, everybody? It's Sathiya here. Welcome to the Man Within podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Andrew Blackwood, who is actually no stranger to the show. We're over 1,000 episodes in, and I think this is his third time on the show. Dr. Andrew Blackwood is a friend, but he's also one of the smartest people I know. Incredibly articulate, not just like a book smart, brainy guy, but very emotionally intelligent. You're going to see just how sharp he is, and this guy can dance. He can talk about relationships. He can talk about well-being, personal development, faith life. He's just has a lot to discuss. We're going to talk today about mental health, about anxiety. We're going to talk a little bit about parenting your kids through anxiety, but also personal coping strategies for anxiety. It's very appropriate for the stuff that we work with here, and everything in between. So it's going to be an amazing conversation. Without further ado, Dr. Andrew Blackwood.
Well, thank you, my
Welcome
friend.
to the podcast, man. Great to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be with you.
And I think this is your third time on the podcast.
I can't remember if it was my second or third.
Well, you were one of the first guests I ever had. Mm-hmm. You were like episode 50-something. And then I think I had you on again a little bit later.
Probably. Did we talk about the art of a genuine apology, maybe?
I'm sure we would have talked about that somewhere in there, yes. Which is part of, now you're working on like a trilogy, right? That's kind of like your middle book.
Yes.
And you got books that you're building after and before.
That's right.
Okay, we'll leave that for later. We don't want to prematurely get anything out there. But I wanted to talk to you about anxiety as a starting point. Mm-hmm. So it's 2025, end of 2025 as we're recording this. I think most people should know that this is the most anxious our society has ever been. We're the anxious generation, as Jonathan Haidt, the social scientist, calls it. So anxiety is at an all-time high. So I want to ask as a starting point, why is anxiety higher now? How much of this is technology? How much of it is, we were anxious hundreds of years ago, but we just didn't have the language to articulate it? And how much of this is, I don't know, maybe, I'm sure there's other factors. There's maybe biological stuff where, on more pharmaceuticals these days, and often anxiety is a side effect and whatever else. I'm just wondering, help us understand this. Are we actually more anxious, and if we are, why?
Well, I think yes, we are, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Because of all the things that are happening in our world. There are a lot of global warming, wars, coming out of a pandemic where you realize everything that I thought was secure isn't.
True.
These are very real things that are anxiety provoking for most people.
Okay.
On top of that, then you have the reality. Trauma happens. And whenever there's trauma, there's anxiety. An unexpected event that disrupts your life. Whether it's physical trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, there's this disruption. And how do we respond to that? Again, it's like an earthquake. Everything that we relied on now becomes unreliable. So we deal with uncertainty all the time, but uncertainty isn't the same as anxiety. So anxiety is where we fill in the blanks with something negative. It's a negative picture about the future. And that creates anxiety in our bodies. So anxiety is not so much about the past, but the past informs how we think about the future. So if we don't understand that, then we can't address it. So and then on top of that, there are the other things, health-related stuff, diet, genetic predisposition. All those things contribute to the individual's experience of anxiety. But the long and short of it is if you don't understand anxiety, you can't change it.
The diet thing we're going to talk about, because your story with that is it blew my mind the first time you told me. I almost didn't believe you. But let's backtrack just a little bit. Okay, so you mentioned the knowledge about global events, and the experience of global events. We were all affected by the pandemic. Global warming is something that, obviously different arguments there. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but it paints a good picture of we are more aware of more things going on globally than ever before. So are you saying that is part of it? Like if there wasn't the news or there wasn't the access to social media and current events and, this happening here and this happening there, that maybe we'd be less anxious?
Yeah, it's a factor for sure. But different people are impacted differently by the news and things like that. My dad, he watches the news all day. Yeah. I can't watch the news for more than 5 minutes.
Right, like he's desensitized to it probably.
I don't know. He's just good. He's just good with all the, and I'm not. Yeah. So everybody's a little bit different. But yes, access is true, and how we think about things when we've witnessed them That's what really makes the difference.
Right.
So I will watch something and then I will worry about that thing. And I will anticipate that thing or those things and the prevalence of those things.
Yes.
Whereas my dad, he ain't thinking about it.
Yeah.
He just changed the channel, he moves on.
Just another piece of content.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is anxiety so you mentioned anxiety is negative. It's us filling in those blanks of what could be. It's an anticipation of something bad. Is there such a thing as useful anxiety? I'm thinking of, I don't know how many times have I stepped foot on stage to speak in front of someone, or how many times have I got in front of the microphone. I don't really get nervous podcasting, but I'll still get nervous speaking on a stage, even though that's probably the thing I do better than anything else. And I said the word nervous, but truthfully, like, there's some anxiety there. There's sort of the, like, what if I mess up? What if they hate me? What if, whatever. But then I also find that if I feel too calm before, and I've had that before, I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know if I like this either. I don't want to be too confident, and I also just, like, I think I'm probably just used to the anxiety, and I kind of let it fuel me a little bit. I don't know, maybe I'm picking apart my own psychology here. But is there a place or a world where anxiety is actually valuable?
Well, like with most things, there's a range and there's degrees of intensity.
Okay.
So you might feel nervous energy. It's natural, it's normal, but it doesn't invade and disrupt your life.
Yeah.
It's for you, it's relegated to that moment.
Yeah.
But then different people have different degrees of anxiety. So for some people, it doesn't stop. For you, it might start 5-10 minutes before, but for some people, it starts months before.
Yeah.
And it's intense. So knowing yourself and recognizing those things, that will make a difference. But some people, they say, like, pressure and timelines and those kinds of things. They use the anxiety. And I'm not saying that it's never useful, but I think it's different.
Yeah.
So even without having a diagnosis of an anxiety disorder or something, you can have experiences of anxiety that are debilitating or that offset your productivity, and those are things to be aware of.
Okay. Anxiety is always future oriented. I think I heard somebody say, like, depression is when it has to do with your past. Anxiety is always about your future, right?
For the most part, I like those conceptualizations.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always explain how anxiety often rolls over into depression.
Right. Okay. Unpack that more for me.
So a simple way to see the link often for people is if you worry, there are several thought patterns that induce anxiety.
Okay.
And one of them is all or nothing thinking.
Okay.
I can't do this. This isn't going to work out for me. That's future telling. This is just not going to work. But then that same way of thinking about it in all or nothing absolute ways locks you in. So this will never work. I might as well quit.
Oh, I see.
I can't do anything about it. And that leads to depression as well. So you can feel so stuck and forecast doom and gloom for the rest of your life. And that's depressing too.
Right.
So it's not just about the past.
Yeah.
It can be because of these experiences in the past, you're concluding that every experience in the future will, mimic the past. So you feel trapped and powerless, and that leads to depression as well.
What are other thinking patterns that lead to anxiety?
So there is mind reading.
Okay.
Where it's not necessarily you're trying to predict what people are going to think,
Yeah.
but you assume you know how people are going to think and what they're going to feel, whether it's about you or about things.
Right. So I have to pause you there, because even the distinction you just made, I think, is important. It's one thing to anticipate, and I think you could argue there's actually a place where anticipating something can be valuable, right? And, like, okay, if I say this, they might say this back. How would I respond? Like, there's a world where, if you're preparing for a conversation or something like that, that can actually help you be better prepared.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you're talking about when it's not that. You're talking about when it's is it worst case scenario, or what is it that deviates from this is no longer just some healthy predictive anticipation, but this is now anxiety.
Yes. So thinking about the future is logical. It helps you to prepare.
Yeah, right.
Things don't always go the way that we want them to. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between worry and concern.
Okay.
So concern is really about likelihood and possibility.
Okay.
So if there's a strong likelihood, it makes sense to prepare for this thing.
Yeah.
Whereas worry, it's just the wheels spinning. It doesn't matter how unlikely this thing is, you're still thinking about it. It doesn't leave your mind. And it doesn't lead you to a plan that helps you to address a concern.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of you're stuck in the spiral.
Yes. So concern makes sense. You prepare
Yeah.
based on a concern. Is this likely to happen? How possible is this? Then it
Yes.
makes sense to prepare. But if it's just one of those thought patterns, well, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, because most of the things we worry about, they never really happen.
Yeah. Yes.
And many of us spend hours, waking hours, but also in our subconscious, we're worried and we're on the defense about everything. And that impacts our relationships. It impacts our performance at work. It impacts our ability to be courageous and pursue what God has called us to.
Yes.
We worry, so we don't take action.
Yeah. Well, I love what you're saying about worry because it's just been one of my favorite scriptures in this season. It's in Matthew 6, and it's Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount. And he says, he's kind of talking about like the lilies of the field, like the Father even is taking care of them. How much more would he clothe you? That kind of thing. But then he says the statement, he says, which one of you can add a single cubit to his stature by worrying, right? Uses that same word or that same kind of language of like, dude, there's no point. Like, don't worry about tomorrow. Like, tomorrow has its concerns, it has its cares, but focus on today. Like kind of stay present. So there's some good valuable insights in there. But I guess what I want to ask you about specifically is, my interpretation of that scripture is that if we are actually handling our mental state and our mental health properly, it like adds to our stature. That's interesting language he used, right? Like,
Yeah.
Why would he mention adding a single cubit to your stature about how you handle your mental health if that wasn't the goal, right? But he's just saying, look, you can't actually do that by worrying, so stop worrying. Instead, and then he kind of goes on and he explains. So I guess what I'm asking is, why is anxiety so debilitating? Because if it's logical to think about the future, and this is mostly governed by our limbic system, which is a God-given brain structure. So why is anxiety even a problem in the first place? And why would Scripture tell us not to worry?
Wow, very good question. It's problematic for a number of reasons.
Okay.
So it not only interferes with our ability to do things, more importantly, it interferes with our experience of being ourselves.
Okay.
Our best selves, we don't bear that fruit when we really worry, because we're afraid to be courageous. We hide. We like the servant with the talent. He didn't invest it because he was afraid.
He's afraid, yeah.
So Paul talks to Timothy, and it's not just pep talk. 2 Timothy 1:7, where he says, God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and soundness of mind. And I used to think that, a spirit of fear was this ghost, this demonic fear, demon.
Yeah.
But my understanding now is we don't function well in environments of fear, whether it's out there or it's in here. We don't. We function well in environments where we feel a sense of power, of love, and soundness of mind. So I conceptualize it this way. I call it the 3 core needs, the core needs framework.
Okay.
Power is about strength. It's our ability to choose. God wired us to have dominion, to exercise authority.
Yeah.
And when we don't have that sense of choice, we don't have that ability to exercise autonomy, we feel powerless. We feel vulnerable. We feel weak. We feel small. And that kind of, I have this diagram. I'll send it to you, but there's this Venn diagram. So you have strength, and then it overlaps with significance and safety. Significance is love. We want to know that we are loved and that we matter. We belong. We are accepted. And if we're not there, people are going to miss us. If we are in environments or relationships where that's not the case, we don't function well. And that overlaps with safety. Safety is about physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, financial safety. If we don't have the sense that those needs are going to be met, we don't have soundness of mind. We panic, we fall apart, we compensate, we cope, we do all these things.
Yes.
So we are aware when we are lacking in these things, but there's spiritual things that happen in temporal domains. So I used to see it as a deficit, but no, this is by design. We are designed to need to feel strong. We're desired to need to feel loved. We're desired to need to feel safe. But the reality is, the only guarantee for these things and the ultimate provision of these things is from God. We're not in control of what happens in the world. We're just not. We have our limitations.
Yes.
So when we come face to face with those realities, what do? We try to save ourselves, right? That is our human nature, whereas our divine nature is to go to Him. Jesus says we don't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And that's what's missing. When we panic on the inside, we don't always go to God and say, God, I feel powerless, I feel weak, I feel unloved, I feel unsafe. We just try to save ourselves. We call it fight or flight, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a spiritual invitation to turn to God and hear what He has to say to us. So I'm learning how to do that more because these needs, they come up. They come up every day. They come up as I parent. They come up as I engage with clients or work or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just walking down the street, we can feel the absence of these things because we're human, and building that habit to commune with God, to connect with Him, it's really what we need.
Interesting. So there's like there's a very important awareness that has to be built of not just recognizing I feel anxious, and this is what I do when I'm anxious, although that would actually be probably a helpful thing for this conversation, right? But then at a second level, it's actually identifying why am I anxious? And it's not because they're dropping bombs over in the Middle East. It's not the event. It's I feel anxious because underneath this is a need for safety. And when I see that happening on TV, I actually don't feel safe, right? Or whatever it might be.
That's right.
Okay, let me start at level 1 actually, just as a starting point. How can somebody, and because truthfully, I was and still kind of am this person that is not always very aware or attuned to my own body. I've definitely come a long way. But I used to say, I don't get anxious very often. And now what I've had to say is, I'm just not always aware when I'm anxious. So, because I just think that's more accurate. But I know some of the things that I do when I'm anxious. But let's talk to somebody who is completely, they're completely oblivious. So maybe they're saying, I don't think I experience anxiety. Or they'll say, well, I'm sure I do, but I don't really know what. I don't know how to recognize when I'm anxious. What are some easy indicators of, hey, this is an anxious response?
Let's see. Physiologically, anxiety feels a lot like stress in the body.
Okay.
Because a lot of men in particular, they'll say I'm stressed.
Yes.
But they don't realize you're not just stressed, you're feeling anxious.
Oh, so stress is kind of like less specific.
Well, yes. So stress is natural, is a part of life.
Yeah.
And there's good stress and then there's bad stress.
Yes.
Good stress that's not managed well turns into bad stress. But then the difference, again, is that future orientation. If you're worried about something stressful in the future, it's not stress. It's anxiety.
Yeah.
I'm feeling anxious about this upcoming thing. And it feels like stress in the body. So that fast heart rate, tension, tightness in the jaw, decreased ability to focus, the absence of calm, poor sleep. Your digestive system is attached to your nervous system and your respiratory system. So if you're not eating well, probably you might be feeling anxious. Having difficulty listening to other people, having hard conversations. If you have a pattern of avoiding things.
Avoiding those things, okay.
And one of the biggest patterns of avoiding things that people don't recognize is procrastination. A lot of people think procrastination is just a bad habit.
Lack of motivation.
Well, if you are thinking about the future in a negative way, what's it going to do to your motivation?
Right. Because you're thinking like, thing's going to be so much work. It's going to take so much time. It's going to be so hard.
Yeah.
So all that kind of future casting.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we tell ourselves, oh, I don't want to do that. It's not true.
Yeah.
Because who else is going to do it?
Yeah.
It's yours to be done, and you want the results.
Yeah.
But we use language like, I don't want to do this. That's different than I'm not in the mood to do this.
Right.
I'm not in the mood to do this. However, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah. That's where you can tap into that strength.
Exactly. So when we see these, recognize that I have this tendency to imagine this going poorly or it's not going to be enjoyable.
Yeah.
We don't realize that it might be low grade anxiety.
Sure.
Right? We're not sweating about it.
Yeah.
But where you see avoidance,
Anxiety.
usually anxiety.
That's really interesting. Well, and this is why this conversation is so important, because I think oftentimes this is a great example where you have somebody who procrastinates a lot. It's actually because they feel anxious, but they tell themselves, I'm just not motivated. And then it's like, oh, I'm not a motivated person, right? And then it kind of downward spirals. Now there's sort of like an identity here that starts to get formed.
That's right.
That's false, unproductive, and really something that could have been easily avoided if that person could just acknowledge, no, there's just some anxiety up front here.
Right.
And we can actually deal with the anxiety.
That's precisely what I was talking about when we were talking about before. Anxiety, it derails your sense of identity and purpose, and that's how it does it. You start to believe these things about yourself, all or nothing thinking. I am this kind of person. I don't have this capacity. I'm not disciplined. I need to be. I should do X, Y, Z.
Yes.
And that kind of language only reinforces the anxiety.
It's really helpful. Okay, so we talked a little, hopefully that's helpful for people to at least start. Here's some things that it looks like when you're experiencing anxiety. Let's talk about somebody on the other side of the spectrum. Is there such a thing as maybe being too aware or too cognizant of your anxiety? Like, it's sort of like I guess it's like too much of a, like you can become so aware of something, and I've done this before. Like, you become so aware of my anxiety or the thing that I'm trying to tackle that you actually end up just making yourself more anxious about it. Is there such a thing as people who, I don't know, are just too conscious of their anxiety or being too aware? I'm just trying to think if there's another side. We talked about people who have no awareness. Is there such a thing as being too aware?
Sure, because then, it becomes part of your identity. I am this, I am that.
Yeah, so you just start to wear this thing all the time.
I have anxiety as opposed to I experience it. I mean, it's different for different people.
Sure.
But I'm sure that's possible. But I think the worst part is we miss the opportunity to learn how to address the anxiety.
Yes.
Whatever you call it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The question is, how
are you responding?
Yeah, how do you deal with it, or are you dealing with it?
Yeah.
And how is it impacting your life? Where are you growing with that? So,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get into that for sure. I want to ask one more question, especially for our audience, for guys who are struggling with sexual issues, with pornography. I think that's a great example of a lot of them do deal with pornography when they're experiencing anxiety. And so, again, this conversation about anxiety comes up way more now in 2025 than 2018 when I started Deep Clean and started helping guys. It was there as well, but you can kind of just see the rise. I think people have the language, but people are also experiencing more anxiousness. So talk me through that with all the information that we've given so far of like the underlying needs and all or nothing thinking or some of these different thinking patterns we get into. Why would somebody be using pornography to cope with their anxiety? What's actually going on here underneath the surface?
I think it's different for everybody, potentially, but there are some
Such a great therapist answer,
right? Well, I just think about myself, and so many times people would say things, experts, they speak so conclusively. And then I'm like, okay, so that has to apply to me. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
no, I'm just poking fun. Yeah.
So, ultimately, porn is serving some sort of purpose. What is it doing for you? How is it making you feel? I'm feeling good. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling, at least at first anyways.
Sure.
But the flip side is, what were you feeling before that? Because pornography, like procrastination, is avoidance.
Yeah.
What are you avoiding? What are you moving away from? Like, because I've never met anybody who says pornography helps me to be the best version of myself.
Yeah, right.
So you are not being the version of yourself. What would you be doing instead? And what's your hesitation about moving into that? Right? So this is why it's important to cultivate not just awareness of yourself, but habits and spiritual disciplines to connect with God, because He's the one who tells us who we are, what He wants with us and for us on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because quite often we don't feel good about ourselves. I'll speak for myself. There are many days where I'm like, God, I'm so far behind. I'm not where I should be. That's one of the thought patterns. Should be in my life. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. And then you venture into comparison. Look at Sathiya. He's so wonderful. He's doing X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
But those things, they're just symptomatic of what's going on beneath. So when I'm feeling inadequate, when I'm feeling insignificant and powerless and small and weak, what do I do? Who do I turn to? Right? Can I tolerate that?
Yeah.
Those emotions, those physiological sensations? Do I know that I can breathe and calm myself and be still?
Yeah.
And then invite the presence of God, listen for what He's saying to me, turn to Scripture, revisit what He's said to me before. Those practices, if I'm not cultivating that, then I'm going to resort to these other ways to save myself.
Yeah. It's interesting. We had a guy in our community yesterday, and he's been clean of pornography for about 5 weeks now, just kind of early in his journey. But he shared a win about in the last week. Excuse me. He had just this really uncomfortable feeling come up. It was I think there's a relationship situation. I'm forgetting the details now. And he said, this is probably the first time I've ever had that feeling. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to sit with it. Like the instinct was, go solve this problem. Go medicate it with pornography or something else. But he just had the presence of mind. This is the stuff we've been working on with him. So he just put it to practice. Okay, it's okay. I'm feeling a bit anxious about this. That's really stressful. And not even trying to work through it, but literally just, I think tolerance is the word you use.
That's right.
Right? Kind of just tolerating it. And sure enough, with enough time, it subsides, it passes through. He carries on with his day, and he's still a clean man. And he was kind of sharing, I can't believe it worked. That sort of thing. He just had no idea, no previous experience of just sitting with something long enough for it to dissolve. So what you're touching on here, I think, is really, really important.
Yeah, the ability to be still. So as I work with people, I talk to them about what I call the ATI process, and it becomes really apparent in journaling. So you want to become aware of what you're feeling as well as what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But that tolerance piece is the T. Okay. Can I tolerate what I become aware of? Whether it's a memory, whether it's a thought about the future, a temptation, a feeling, a physiological sensation.
Yeah.
Because some people, if they are upset in their body, physically, stomach, then their purity falls apart because for some reason or another. So can we tolerate what we're feeling in order to get to that I, which is being intentional? Am I choosing? Am I being responsible? So I'm being responsible by being responsible, or am I just reacting?
Oh, yeah.
So awareness is where we begin, but tolerance is what we move through and increase so that we can be intentional.
Oh, interesting. So that's cool language. Reacting is when I engage with whatever I'm feeling without that tolerance. Is kind of what I heard you say.
Without the intentionality.
The intentionality, yeah.
It's like reactive. It's reflex.
So this ATI framework is kind of the difference between a reaction, I'm just reacting in the moment to what I feel, versus the response of take some time and be a bit more calculated and make sure that this anxiety doesn't just blow up my relationship or my life or whatever it might be.
That's right. Yeah.
I love it. You always got frameworks, man. There's always something to it.
I use these things for myself personally.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, how does this make sense? How can I share this with somebody else? Yeah.
So speaking of your personal experience with anxiety, tell me about diet. Why is diet a part of the equation of what could be causing somebody anxiety?
Well, it's several years ago now, but for about 18 months, I was suffering with what I thought was a mood disorder.
Okay.
I was reactive. I was hypersensitive. I was crying over spilt milk.
Okay.
Literally.
Yeah.
And my wife, AD, she was like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying.
So this switch just happened all of a sudden?
I think it happened gradually, but I didn't know what was happening.
Okay.
I was having, in addition to the mood instability, I was having excessive sleep issues. Like I would be falling asleep mid-conversation.
Oh, like narcolepsy kind of thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
around the wheel. I remember having to put down the window in the winter, punching my leg so I could stay awake to get home.
Oh.
I was worried that, I wasn't going to be able to work, and, I was sole income earner for my family. Like, I was stressed out. Come to find out, it was gluten.
That is crazy.
Gluten. I had no idea. I'd been eating gluten all of my life.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe my body changed, or maybe how it's processed. Because if I go to another country, like I was in the Bahamas for a wedding and I was eating, I was fine. I didn't have any issues.
Yes.
So
I know that feeling.
Whatever it is, for 18 months, I had no idea what it was. But when the suicidal ideation started to kick up, I was just like, whoa, I need to get some help. So I was consulting with some friends who are psychiatrists. I'm like, okay, maybe I should get on some meds. Can you refer me to someone? But I opted not to because it wasn't consistent. It would happen for an hour or two, and then it would pass, and then it would kick up again. And then, so I didn't want to be taking meds for something that wasn't, consistent. And I fasted.
Okay. Like for spiritual reasons, like to get clarity from the Lord, or
I also believe this was a spiritual kind of experience.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And my take on it now is it's all spiritual.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But
it's hard to separate those things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're all connected, to our spirits, our bodies, our minds, emotions. We're all connected. But I thought this was like a spiritual attack. So I'm like, okay, let me.
Oh, like solely yeah.
So let me just fast.
Yeah, we're gonna bind some things.
Right.
Get the demons out.
Yeah.
Feel better. Yeah.
Under control. Right. And then I felt better because I wasn't eating.
Okay.
I'm like, wait a sec. Maybe this has to do with what I'm eating. And I started to go online and do some, and then.
So you didn't actually have faith that something spiritually had happened? I guess I'm just thinking like, if you're like, okay, I'm going to do this for spiritual reasons, and then you fast and feel better, wouldn't you conclude like, oh, it was spiritual and fasting broke it?
Well, I think it's still connected.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think like the fasting broke it. The fasting gave my stomach and my gut some time to recuperate.
I'm just asking in the moment. I'm just thinking like for me, like not now, but in earlier seasons of my life, if that would have happened and I would have fasted, I'd been like, this fasting thing's amazing. Everybody should be fasting.
So
but you somehow knew like, okay, this was physiological, clearly to some extent.
I think that was divine revelation too.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, perfect.
Like,
great.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second. That's why I looked it up online and I realized other people were experiencing similar symptoms. So
and was it gluten for them as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's called gluten. It's non-celiac gluten sensitivity.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't have.
So it's not the allergic kind of like.
Right. I don't get the stomach
anaphylactic kind of thing.
I don't get the gastrointestinal issues that would trigger most, health practitioners be like, okay, it's gluten. So, because I've been going to the doctors, I did the blood test, I did everything, and they found nothing. So then I realized, like, oh, this is gluten. So since then, I've been intentionally off it. And then if I have some sort of contamination, if something is cross-contamination or I accidentally eat something, it takes 4 to 5 weeks for this stuff to get out of my system.
I know, dude. Yeah, you're sensitive to it.
Yeah.
Because I've called you before to be like, how are you doing? You're like, dude, I ate gluten 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm like still recovering. Yeah.
Oh, man, it's debilitating. That's brain
crazy.
fog. Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess with gluten, they don't really have a cure or solution for it other than just avoid it. And
No, I've tried the coconut water. I've tried the charcoal, activated charcoal.
Oh, right. Yes.
None of that stuff works for me.
Yeah, or I guess you could move to Europe or somewhere that's got better food standards.
Hopefully,
for
maybe one day.
Stuff. Yeah, because Shaloma and I we don't, nothing on that level, but just, we're careful with how much gluten and dairy we eat and whatever. And then You went to Italy and ate pasta, pizza, and gelato 3 times a day for 2 weeks and
Yeah.
lost weight, you know? So I was like, what's this all about? The food's just different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully we've covered enough bases for people to maybe understand where anxiety might be coming from, why they're experiencing it. Let's talk about the solution side of it. You already talked about ATI, very valuable framework. So ATI can be a journaling method. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
And you and I are both big, avid journaling ambassadors. You know, we swear by it. I guess you could do ATI though, like real time in your head if you had to.
Yeah.
Right. You could go through it very quickly, kind of build that awareness, tolerate, like work through it, and then try to figure out a course of action and be intentional. Right.
Yeah.
If
Essentially,
you
you're processing your emotions.
yeah.
So you're labeling them,
Right.
you're identifying them, but then you're teasing them apart from the thoughts, because
Yes.
thoughts and emotions are different.
Yeah.
So being able to, you can't argue with an emotion.
Right.
You're feeling upset. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But what thoughts are fueling the upset? Because thoughts can be inaccurate or accurate. And most of the times, our thoughts that are really upsetting are inaccurate.
Yeah.
That comes back to those thought patterns,
Yes.
right? She always does this.
Yeah.
Is that really true?
Yeah.
I'm upset because I'm telling myself she always does this. But does she always do it? No.
Yeah.
She does it a lot,
Yeah.
but it's not the same.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I guess you feel the anxiety, but it is the thoughts you have that specifically are what would drive it worse or, drive you to a place of peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thoughts aren't always in words. They're quite often in pictures.
We're imagining things, you mean? We're picturing things on the screen of our mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're not always aware. So what we are, most people, what we're most aware of are the emotions, the physiological sensations.
Yes.
What am I feeling? And you ask them, they don't know. They don't have the language for what they're feeling. They just feel something. Something
Yes.
feels off.
Yes.
So when you develop the emotional vocabulary, you can say, this feels this. This is familiar. I've felt this before.
Yeah.
This is, and this is connected to this.
Yes.
Okay, then you start to put those pieces together. Well, what is this? Or what does this thing represent? What does it cause you to think or believe about yourself, about God, or about others, about the world?
Yes.
And that's where we want to experience change.
Yeah.
Because this is what our internal world is composed of. It's interpretations, it's perceptions.
Yeah.
Because two people can be in the same situation. One person freaks out and the other person's like, yay, let's do this.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not always about the event. It's about how we experience and interpret those events.
Yes. And going back to what you were saying a minute ago, I think this is where reading the Bible is actually so important because, like you said, we have a lot of thoughts, but it's our job to discern what's actually true, like which thoughts are actually correct, right? And I think generally what governs correct thinking is the Bible. It's the Word of God. That's the best kind of, framework that you have to say, okay, does it align with Scripture, yes or no? And if it's a no, then, wash it away. And I think, that's why I just think people are missing out on this sometimes of just how important it is to know the truth because, like Scripture says, the truth sets you free. But this is like a very practical way of how it sets you free is when you're discerning through the thoughts that you're experiencing when you're anxious about something, Scripture can actually help you identify, no, that is the truth, and I'm gonna hold on to that. What happens when somebody hears the truth, knows it's the truth, but can't really believe it? Like they've heard Dr. Blackwood tell them, like, this is the truth. The truth is that you are actually enough as a person. You are significant. You are valuable. You can go and botch that presentation, and you're still loved. But how does somebody actually connect that so that their nervous system responds to it?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. One is that we're not always aware that we can believe more than one thing at the same time. Right? We can know on some level that God is real and he'll take care of us.
Yeah.
But on another level, we're like, I got to do this for myself. I got to take care of myself.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the Scripture that you shall know the truth and the truth will make you free, it's not just being aware. Being aware is the first step.
Yes.
But then how do you move from awareness to actually integrating this belief, this truth?
Yes.
And that comes from encounter, right? It's not just reading the scripture, it's knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing and listening for what he's saying. And that's part of it. And then sometimes there's also just simply choosing.
Right.
We choose.
You make the choice because you know it's true.
I choose to believe that he loves me. I choose, because sometimes those voices, they're not just your own thoughts.
Yeah.
I think the enemy influences our thoughts, and we don't recognize his voice from ours, from God's.
Yes.
So it's just this noise in our head.
Yes.
But we can choose. We can choose to agree with the scriptures and hold out hope and hope in God that, you know what, you will make the difference for me. And so there's that reality that we can choose. But then when in my Parenting and Peace program with parents, the first place we start is prayer. And there are 4 pillars to prayer.
Okay.
There's 1, believing in God's power, which most people don't have a problem with.
Right.
2 is not believing that God can, but will he, believing that he will. And that's really all about kinship. We're his kin. No good thing will he withhold from his children. Like you are an heir. When you believe, you receive, but actually starting to integrate that. Like, I'm your kid and you have good things for me. But then the 3rd pillar is the imagination. What are you imagining? James talks about don't expect to receive anything from God if you're unstable and going back and forth. And that's what we do. Anxiety does that. God help me. Or what if he doesn't help me? God help me. And then you imagine him not helping you. God, you're telling me that I'm the head, not the tail, but then you imagine being the tail all the time. And so we go back and forth. So we don't cultivate that very thing that God is saying is true.
Yeah.
So we want to consistently, which is the 4th pillar, use your imagination consistently.
Yeah.
In the same direction. This continuity of faith. We're building on this faith daily. That's why the spiritual disciplines are important. It's like going to the gym. You don't go to the gym once a month and then expect to see some results.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't go every day, then you're going to be doing other things with your time, with your food and all that stuff, and it's going to have an impact. So consistency is important. Reading your Bible, choosing to believe, even in the face of, things that would cause you to doubt.
Yeah.
Those are opportunities to progress in your faith, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's just why it's so important that you have to just be intentional with this stuff. Like none of it's going to happen by accident.
Right.
So ATI is a great framework. I think building that pattern, obviously, I love what you said about even the consistency of what you're imagining, super important. I have to just imagine in the early stages when you're working with people, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the parenting stuff in a minute, but when you're working with people, I have to imagine it's difficult at first. Like, I know when we help guys with pornography, sometimes guys come in guns a-blazing, they're like, let's do it, and they're super motivated. And that can get them some momentum early on. More often than not, though, they need the most encouragement that it's working early on, right? Because you have to do this stuff and lay groundwork and lay a foundation. And with quitting pornography, you still get tempted, or you still might have some slips along the way because you're still figuring some things out. And coaching people through those moments is very important because sometimes they're make or break. They can actually foster momentum or they can get somebody off track. Same thing with anxiety, I'm guessing, for somebody that's early stages trying to live a less anxious life and trying to, filter the screen of their imagination and everything else and really making sure that they're being on top of those things. I'm guessing more work is required up front and early on.
Yeah, I mean, it depends when people come and how they come and what they're coming with.
Okay.
But, yeah, a lot of people, it kind of just makes sense when you start to think about it in these ways of conceptualizing it.
Yeah.
So to be perfectly honest with you, when I first meet with people, I'm living out the ATI process with them.
Right. Like you're talking them through it, you're guiding them along the way.
Yeah, even if
Yeah.
they don't know it.
I see.
That's
okay.
what I'm doing.
Oh yeah,
right?
you're being a Psyche therapist.
Well, I guess so. It's my wife says, "Are you therapizing me?"
Right.
Like, no, I'm not. This is just who I am.
Yeah.
So a good listener, whether you're listening to yourself
It's
or to
true.
somebody
Just
else,
natural line of questioning is going to do those three things.
well, yeah, you're going to listen for what somebody's feeling.
Yeah, make them aware of or help them get that awareness of what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's part of it is it's empathy.
Yes.
Like you're telling me stuff you've never told anybody in your entire life.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since you've held that in.
Hmm.
You probably felt isolated and alone for a long time.
Yeah.
What does that do to somebody?
Right.
You know, like I feel that.
Yeah.
And people feel that, and they're like, "You get me." I was like, "Yeah, I do, I do," and it makes sense when your experience starts to make sense to you.
Yeah.
You now start to have understanding, and then that's the truth,
Yes.
and that sets you free.
Yeah. Gives you the power to make a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts to make sense. You know,
Yeah.
God says, "Come, let us reason together. Though your sins be as scarlet, I'll make them white as wool. Though they be red like crimson, I'll wash them white as snow." God's got the cleansing purity part. He's got it.
Yeah.
He's got the forgiveness part. But he wants you to understand why you do what you do. A lot of us know we're doing the wrong thing, but we don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you think about it, it makes sense. Your behaviors always, and I think you champion this, your behaviors are mirrors to your belief system.
Yes.
I'm doing XYZ. Well, that means on some level you believe certain things. So
Yes.
what is it that you believe? So we eventually get there, but you can't get there if the emotions themselves are roadblocks.
Yeah.
So being able to hear that. So even if somebody's feeling anxious, there's a lot of other emotions that they're feeling too.
Yeah.
So it's laying the groundwork to listen for those things, to learn to tolerate those things, to take the time to breathe. Because everybody's like, I breathe all the time. No, it's different.
Different. Parasympathetic breathing we're talking about here.
Different.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first things that you can take control of.
Yes, is your breath.
Right. And when you take control of your breath, you feel more in control of your body.
Mm-hmm.
And
it is amazing what a few deep breaths can do.
yeah.
Your body, your brain, you get
Yeah.
that prefrontal cortex engagement again.
Yeah.
Start thinking more clearly.
Yes, because most of the things in this world we're not in control of.
Yes.
So we spend most of our time trying to control these external things,
Yeah.
lose control of ourselves.
Right.
So our best bet is to have this self-control,
Yeah.
to be aware of ourselves, and that helps us navigate the things that we aren't in control of.
Such a good word for this conversation because control is sort of the issue at hand, right? It's that you see something in the news, again, to just go with that example, you see something that is so terrible, and what makes it additionally terrible is that you can't control it.
Yes.
You can't control the outcome. You can't control what's happening right now. You like there's a powerlessness that comes with that.
That's right.
When you're consumed by it. Now, like you said, your dad for some reason can watch that and doesn't feel any degree about whether he's in control or not.
No.
He's good with it, right?
He's good.
But for whatever the thing is that's causing you anxiety, the control can often be at play. And as somebody who is a control freak, I actually find this to be really helpful. Just focus on the right things to control: the self-control, your breathing, the regulation, all of it. You mentioned when you're working with parents, I know this is something that you've kind of added to your arsenal the last couple of years, helping parents create like non-anxious, you have a much better language for
Parent
it.
in peace.
Parent in peace.
Yeah.
Thank you. So when you're working with them, you mentioned the first thing is prayer life, 4 pillars of prayer. I love that. I think that's a very good framework. Give us some more for somebody who maybe themselves, like they're anxious and they can observe it, like, shoot, my kid is picking up some of my patterns. How do they help them through that?
Yeah. So part of what we talk about is creating a vision, understanding how faith and the functioning of the mind work together.
Okay.
So anxiety, when you're picturing the future and it's negative, it creates anxiety in your body. But when you picture a future that God has planned, it creates peace and calm for you. And worry leads to hurry. And whether you're doing that as a person, trying to get farther and faster ahead, or you're trying to help your child move through something, when you're worried, you're hurrying them. And that makes it worse, because what feels worse than anxiety is feeling alone in your anxiety. And for a child, they want to come to their parent to feel supported and loved and settled and peace. And if they get pushed away or they get hurried, that only intensifies their experience. So I talk about a parallel process. If you're struggling with something as a parent, you might feel guilty, you might feel ashamed. But there is a beautiful empathy that's created because you realize, I'm an adult and I'm struggling. Of course my child's gonna struggle. It's hard for them too. They're not trying to do this. It creates this compassion. Say, you know what? Yeah, let's work through this. It's okay. But sometimes we don't have that compassion for ourselves. We have this disdain for weakness and our limitations, and we get harder on ourselves and we push ourselves, and because we've achieved some sort of success from pushing ourselves, we think the same is going to work for our children. And we talked a little bit earlier about, why is anxiety the way that it is, so prevalent. I think there's also this transgenerational process. The less we deal with it now in this generation, is the worse it gets for the next generation.
Right. Yeah.
We're passing it on.
Our kids aren't going to magically learn to cope better than us.
No. They're just absorbing all of our anxiety, right? Whether you see it as a spiritual thing, a generational curse, it works its way through relationships. They feel that. You shut down a conversation, you avoid, you don't. That's what they learn how to do. Right? So as much as we have high hopes for our kids, sometimes we can, make this idea that a good life looks like this. So now there's this unintentional pressure for them to have a good life. And if they don't have a good life, then their life is going to suck. And we don't realize that that's what we're feeding them. As opposed to saying,
which in of itself is anxiety.
Right. Right. Like the good life is living with Christ. One of my walking partner, I'm trying to learn Spanish.
Okay.
And so we walk, we talk, we pray, we do those kinds of things. And we're having a conversation, and the idea of what a good life is kind of came up. And he highlighted that all the prophets and all the people who were close to God, they had some real struggles and intense experiences. They were not living the good life. I mean, like war. The persecuted church. That doesn't look like a good life. It doesn't look like a comfortable life. It's not the life that we would desire. But God, who is our life, Christ, who is our life, when he appears, we'll appear with him in glory. He gives us the power, the strength, and the grace to deal with the things that don't look so good. But that doesn't factor into our framework when it comes to life and anxiety. We think it's about achieving and doing as opposed to being connected, being who he's called and created you to be. It's a very different way to live.
So I guess it sounds like, as a parent, the best thing you can do is actually get your act together a little bit, to be direct, right? Like, if a parent can model what it looks like to go through the cares of life, and I think I love what you're saying even about the good life. It's such a misnomer, because I think the more that your kid sees life is hard, but here's how you work through them, the stronger that kid's going to be as they get older, right? So there's that element of, as a parent, you got to work on your stuff, and the better you get, the wider the path is for your kid to also go down and experience mental wellness. And then with the kid, it sounds like you have to really make sure that you're actually having honest conversations with them. They're not feeling the pressure. I love what you said. Worry leads to hurry. So also trying to, it sounds like, reduce that worry and have as little as possible. And if anything, have concern, right? That was the distinction you made earlier. If anything, have concern.
You address your concerns. And you navigate, the worrisome thoughts. You learn to deal with those. It's important.
It's really good. Any other words of wisdom for parents who are wanting to raise?
Well, so that's just the P.
Oh, okay, yeah, jeez. We need you back for another interview, bro. We're running out of time here.
Yeah, we'll have to come back and talk about it. But yeah, there's 6 elements of the parenting and peace framework that we work through.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about emotions.
Okay.
That's week 2. We go through this online course. But then assessing situations is an important part.
Okay.
You know, understanding, you know, what's the level of risk, because that then informs my parenting approach. If the risk is high, then I'm going to be directive. There's no way my child is running into the street. I'm just going to be like, could you come back, please?
Right.
No, I'm going to reach out and grab you.
Yes.
Right? But if they're navigating these developmental challenges and they're not at risk, then me being directive is not going to be helpful.
Because you're disempowering them?
Right. I'm
Okay.
basically, and that's what we do when we reassure our kids who have anxiety or experience anxiety. Oh, don't worry about it. You shouldn't have to worry about that. That's
Not helpful.
No. Because even if it works in the short term, what you're doing is making them dependent on you, and they're going to come to you for reassurance over and over and over.
Yes.
And that drives parents crazy.
Yeah, right.
Right? But
You may love it at first,
right?
but they come to you.
Oh,
but-
this works. I'm being no, this is not working. Right? And then there's calm, which is what you were talking about. Understanding your own experience. What deprives you from finding your way to that or place of calm for yourself, whether it's unrealistic expectations, stress, all those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Diet, whatever, you know, understanding you makes a difference. And then the last piece is exploring motivation and offering affirmation. So those core needs. What's at play? What's driving this behavior? Because a lot of the times when we parent behaviors, but we don't understand what's motivating these behaviors.
Yeah.
So that we can then do what's really important, which is affirm our children. Most people who have challenges with anxiety have poor sense of self.
Yeah.
Low esteem or unhealthy esteem because of those thought patterns. They believed and internalized these things about themselves. So it's important for parents to understand that.
Yeah, man, that's really good. For people that want to find out more about some of the stuff you're up to, I know this course is amazing. What's the best way for them to do that?
CoachDrew.ca.
CoachDrew.ca, the keys to the kingdom right there.
Yeah, the resource center. It's well populated, lots of things on there for people, and then they can just contact me through the site.
Yeah, perfect. Andrew, thanks for your time, man. Great having you here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.